Hello, I am Eric. I run the book blog lonesomereader.com, and I want to talk to you today about the 2016 Baileys Women's Prize for Fiction. In case you don't know, the Baileys Women's Prize for Fiction is awarded annually to a book written by a woman in the past year. The Women's Prize for Fiction has been running for 20 years, and I've been a fan of the prize for at least 16 years. It's one of my absolute favorite book prizes because I really love literature written by women. I think some of my absolute favorite authors of all time would count as Virginia Woolf and Joyce Carol Oates and Angela Carter. I love Joyce Carol Oates so much that I actually have a t-shirt with Joyce Carol Oates' face on it. I'm such a dork. And also Ali Smith. Ali Smith, who actually won the Baileys Women's Prize for Fiction last year with this book, How to Be Both, an absolutely brilliant novel that says so many things about how the past and the present merge, and issues around identity and gender and sexuality, and her playfulness with language is so brilliant and amazing. And so I just think there's so much humor and warmth and life in her novels that I absolutely count her as one of my favorite authors. It was really interesting because I thought last year it was really clear that this book stood out amongst the list and was the clear winner, and I was right, and it did actually win. But this year I think it's really interesting because the 6 different novels shortlisted for the prize are all very different, and I think that the winner could go a lot of different ways. I want to emphasize at first that that I don't have any affiliation with the Baileys Women's Prize for Fiction or any of the publishers. I'm really just a committed fan who loves great books written by women, and I want to discuss them. I've been really closely following the prize this year, much more than usual. I've been active with a couple of different groups where Simon from Savage Reads. He has a great blog. We've jokingly formed this thing called the Baileys Bearded Book Club, where we've been reading the entire long list and discussing the books in a couple of different podcasts and through social media. And also I've joined with the fantastic Naomi from the Rights of Women, who organizes a shadow panel to read the entire long list, and we discuss in a private forum all the different books listed, and we sort of nominate our own winner out of those books. So there's been a lot of discussion around the book, and I've found it so encouraging and exciting discussing all of the books with lots of different people on social media, on Twitter, on Goodreads, and through a lot of personal emails and in discussions in person. So there's been a lot of great talk around the list this year. So this is the actual list, the 6 books nominated for the 2016 Baileys Women's Prize for Fiction, and I'm going to go through all 6 of them and briefly talk about what they're about and my opinions of them, because it's been interesting. I've been going back. The long list was announced early this year, and then the shortlist was announced in April. And so I've had a lot of time to really mull over these books and think about them, and I've gone back and I haven't completely reread any of them, but I've reread long passages of each of them, and I found my feelings have really changed. Some of them I read a year ago, like Anne Enright's The Green Road. I think this is probably the book that my opinion has changed about the most in the past year. When I first read it, I absolutely loved it. I just sort of gobbled it up. I think it was it was absolutely one of my favorite books of 2015. And I think Anne Enright is a really brilliant, skilled writer. She's written a novel called The Forgotten Waltz, which I think is one of my absolute favorite books of all time. It's about an Irish family who they they sort of split apart. There's a matriarch, and she has 4 children, and they they each have their own individual stories at a different point in their lives, where she follows their stories as they move to different places out of Ireland, or whether they stay in Ireland, and how they sort of split apart from each other, and then all come back together towards the end of the novel to have a reunion and to confront issues that they've been avoiding. Now, I found this book a fantastic read, but I've been really surprised at people's reactions, where people take real issues because she writes about their lives in such segments that you can see them almost as completely self-contained stories that don't necessarily have anything to do with each other. And I think all their stories come together really well at the end, but I really understand, particularly going back and reading some parts of it, how you can really see each of the individual stories as independent from each other, and how that might be an issue, sort of novel-wise, in it coalescing and coming together. So I've found it really interesting hearing people's opinions about this. Then there's the novel Ruby by Cynthia Bond. This novel is about a woman who leaves her small town in the South and returns many years later after having lived in New York City, coming back very damaged, and she was very damaged by her hometown when she was growing up there. And a man who goes to visit her, who wants to try to save her because he sees that she's very troubled, and it's a really powerful, really emotional story that tips slightly into the fantastical in a really brilliant way, I think, where the people's emotions sort of spill out into their lives, into their community, and become a physical reality. So I think this novel is really skillfully done, and the writing in it is absolutely beautiful. I think it's one of the most beautifully written novels in the group of the shortlist. Then there's this big tome, A Little Life by Hanna Yanagihara, which has been very controversial and much talked about over the past year. It was shortlisted for the Booker Prize also last year, and it's a book that really divides people, and because it's about a group of friends in New York City at a time that's not really specified. That's must be in recent times, and it follows their lives and their friendships, particularly a character named Jude, over the course of his life, and how he deals with his very difficult past, the trauma of his past, and the repercussions of that. And it's really, I think, a novel about friendship, about the long-term impact of friendship, the way friendships change over the years, the way we relate to each other differently, and how our friends really become our family and our stronghold, and the people who support us throughout our lives, or don't support us, as the case may be, because of petty jealousies or disagreements, and how that relationship really changes over time. And it's been such a controversial book because it deals with such strong issues, because it deals with child abuse and molestation and and self-harm, and so it's a book that really hits people emotionally, and I think people find it really challenging the way the author chooses to handle those issues. And I can really see both sides of the argument, that some people have problems with it, feels that at a certain point in the narrative the author might be betraying her characters because of the way she constructs the action and the outcomes of those characters' lives. And I also understand how some people are really personally affected by it, and think that this is a book that really changed them as a person. And I think that alone makes it such a powerful novel that I can't think of another book that's been so much debated about. And going back and reading parts of the book, I think Hanna Yanagihara is so insightful about psychology and the workings of our egos, and the way we have a tendency to really self-destruct and take the world's problems and the problems that people have put upon us and apply it to what we say about ourselves, how we think about ourselves personally. And so I think it's such a strong novel. Then there's this book by Lisa McNerney, who's a debut Irish author, called The Glorious Heresies. It's about a group of people in sort of recent modern-day Cork in Ireland, and a group of very different people who are sort of loosely connected, but who all represent and are a part of a sort of disadvantaged underclass of society, people who have been let down by their society, by their religion, by the government and the government policies, and it takes place sort of shortly after 2008, and so sort of after the recent financial collapse of the country. And she writes with such insight and humor and real energy about these different characters' lives and how they all come together and sort of bounce off each other to create this really dramatic story. And I think it's a really energetic, exciting book. So that was a really fantastic discovery for me. She's a really exciting new voice. So now on to this next book, which I've sort of been wanting to avoid talking about, called The Improbability of Love by Hanna Rothschild. I have to admit, I didn't actually read this novel. I tried. It wasn't for want of trying. I tried 3 different times to read it. I started it, and honestly, I couldn't get past page 20. Usually with most books, I give them to at least page 50 to see whether I'll continue on with it or not. But this book, I just couldn't do it. It's about a woman who has suffered a recent breakup and who buys a painting, and her I don't really know what it's about because I haven't read it, but I've been listening to discussions about it from people I trust. Some people, readers whose opinions I really respect, really loved this novel and thought it was a great satire on both the pretensions of the art world and sort of satire on the kind of romance novel chick lit that it employs some of the techniques of. But it's just not a novel for me. I couldn't get on with it, and I couldn't read it, so I can't really give any fair opinion of it because I haven't actually read it. So I'll move on to the last novel, called The Portable Veblen by Elizabeth Mackenzie. This is a really fascinating, strange novel about a woman who is engaged to be married, and her relationship with this man, and each of their relationships with their respective families, each of whom have very different issues, very difficult families. And so it sort of sounds like a sort of like normal romance, but it's not at all. It's a very strange and fascinating and compelling novel. The main character, she frequently has conversations with squirrels, where she discusses her life problems and works out her issues. There's so much in this novel that's interesting points of view about psychology and capitalism and the ways parents can act as destructive forces in our lives, the way that parents can become children, and the way that children can become parents to them. And so it discusses how those feelings and our relationships with our families really inveigle and work themselves into our relationships, our personal and romantic relationships with other people. So this is a absolutely fascinating and really original novel, which I think makes a really interesting contrast with all the other books. So looking at them all in total, I think they make a really fascinating list, and it's really difficult to understand which way the judges might go, who they might pick as the winner. I think the ones that really stand out for me, if I'm going to be honest, and that I think have a real shot to lead to win the prize, are these four. And I really honestly have to discount A Little Life, because I think it is such a contentious novel that the judges won't be able to unanimously agree that it'll be the winner. So I'd say that is out. Then there are these three left, all of which are fantastic, brilliant novels. But I would have to take out Anne Enright, because I think just because of the issues I was talking about that a lot of readers have of it coming together as a complete novel, I think the judges might take issue with. So I think it's really a contest between Ruby and the Glorious Heresies. Both really fantastic, great novels, and I think honestly it could really go either way for which of these books are going to win on June 8th. But if I had to pick a winner, I would really have to go with The Glorious Heresies, because I think this is a novel which really stands out as such a fresh, exciting voice that has something really important to say about our modern times, about the way our society works. And it's just a fantastic read that could really do with a lot more notice, a lot more promotion, a lot more people seeing what a great book it is. And I think it is such a great book that I really want to share it with you. So I'm going to send this book to one of the watchers of this video. To win this book, all you have to do is subscribe to my channel and leave a comment if you've read the books on the Baileys Shortlist, saying who you think is going to win. And if you haven't read the books, based on how I've talked about them, what book you are most interested in reading next. So to win the book, just subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment saying that. And if it turns out that I'm wrong, if Lisa McNerney doesn't win the prize on June 8th, then I will also send you the book that does actually win the prize. So you will get one or possibly two books. So that is the competition. Then I'm going to leave it running open till the end of June, so you'll actually have some time to watch this video and to read the books and comment. And then I'll randomly select the winner at the end of June to contact, and I will send the book or books to you. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this interesting and given you some insight into the prize. It's going to be really exciting to see who wins on June 8th. So get in touch with me. Like I said, I blog at lonesomereader.com. I also tweet at lonesomereader. Or you can email me at lonesomereader@gmail.com. I'm always really excited and enthusiastic to discuss both these books and whatever books you might be reading. So get in touch, and thank you for watching.